It is certainly an exciting time to be in the real estate business. Exciting, both in terms of active, every listing I have has activity, and exciting in that rates are going up, causing some challenges for buyers, perhaps. And yet, savvy agents and buyers are able to take some precautions to protect themselves. This is our weekly home buyer seminar. I'm Bill Gross, a real estate broker here in Los Angeles, along with my colleague who's below us today, Patricia Castillo. Hey, Patricia.
Hi everybody.
Patricia Castillo, for those of you who speak Spanish.
That's
and
right.
our good friend,
Gustavo Segura.
Gustavo Segura, or if you speak Spanish, Gustavo Segura. So
that was pretty good.
Thank you so much. So how about those interest rates, boys and girls?
Well, yeah, they're just not coming much lower than they are now. I think we're at they've been hovering around the mid sixes. I think March 6th we were at the highest at almost 7%, but they've been hovering in the mid 6 range.
Yeah, to show you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gustavo.
Oh, I was gonna say about 2 weeks ago we were looking very good. Like that was coming down. The 10-year was below like 350, and then like Patricia just said, now it's just been kind of going the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
All year it's been between 6 and 7%, and it's like every time it goes up, it gets nerve-wracking. It goes down. We're excited, but it's been in that bandwidth pretty consistently the whole time, I think.
Yeah.
The difficult part is that we know, even though the press is going to say the rates are down in the 6.25, 6.5, we know that the market's bumped up the last few days. So, and on one hand, this level has been consistent. It's not that these rates are the problem. It's the fear that rates could go higher than this. I think that has people nervous, right, Gustavo? Is that what we're talking about?
Right. Yeah, and that's really it. I think, we're getting, like you said there on the chart, we're getting some consistency within now, but I think the history has been, we were at 3 and then it just keeps going up and up and up, so I think people still think, well, here we're going to go to like 7, 8, 9, and I don't think that's the case, but any small movement upward gets everybody into a little bit of a panic, and it totally understandable. $600,000 loan amount and a little bit of an interest change, it's going to make a change in the payment. So I get it,
Yeah, especially if you're a buyer that is maybe getting approved for a condo purchase. Any uptick in that rate, it's also going to affect that loan approval, because you also have to include the FHA monthly fee, and that's going to, there's a certain budget that's set aside for that, but sometimes you're just right there where, you're barely qualifying, and anything that goes over that percentage rate that you were originally quoted for could, pretty kind of dampen that scenario for you.
Yeah, exactly right.
It seems to me, now I don't have a handle on the entire market, but it seems to me the market's still pretty competitive. I have listings that I think are priced a bit high when we took them, and they're getting shows, they're getting phone calls, they're getting inquiries. Some cases are getting offers. I got one, I think, almost into escrow, a big listing I've had for a while. What's your sense of the market, Patricia, as far as buyers and inventory? Inventory is still tight. So what does that mean?
Inventory is still tight, and because there's not a lot of inventory right now, buyers they're out looking for property, and just basically seeing what they can get. And if it's something that's suitable for their family, it's a functioning, floor plan for them, they're going to jump on it, because really in the next few years, if it doesn't work out for you, you could upgrade or, or downsize, whatever the case may be. But people are really looking to get into a home right now. We've seen a lot of buyers coming out into our open houses. I had an open house last week for my listing in Corona, and I know there was at least 15 groups that came by on Sunday. And, I have multiple offers on that one, sent out counters today. And I have agents calling me, asking me, what can I do? Just tell me, what can I do to win? And, I wish there were more homes so that I can say everyone's going to walk away with, everyone's a winner, everyone's going to walk away with a home. But that's really not the case. You have one property and you have multiple buyers that are really, really competitive. And these were all, conventional buyers with very competitive terms. So it's, it really comes down to pretty much what they can offer as far as their highest and best, and just, looking at the rest of their paperwork for their financials. But there's some, a lot of buyers out there are very qualified, highly qualified, and not just FHA, a lot of conventional buyers out there as well. And because the inventory is low, I'm not even hearing anything about the interest rates anymore. It's just, how can I write the offer so I can get into this property? Because it's either closer to their family, to their work, to the babysitter, whatever the case may be, to their kids' school. So they're kind of looking at, I think buyers are just conditioned now to what the rates are and where they're at. Now it's just a matter of, where can I find a home that I'm going to be able to get into because of the competition right now? That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mistaken news and press about home affordability, but the reality is only I think 20% of Californians can afford to buy a house, but those that can either own a house or want to buy a house pretty intensely, right? I mean, it's intensity. People who had the money, they want to buy a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's a sense that if you can afford it, they're going to push their way in because they believe that's the way to go. And in the long run, that's been the best source of wealth for people. So if you can afford it, doesn't mean everybody can afford it, but there's one buyer for every house that gets sold. That's kind of how the numbers work.
And I'm also seeing the, multi-generational living, where they're teaming up with either, an aging parent or someone else in the family to come together and buy a large enough home where they can all, live comfortably.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing as well.
That's right. And I'm seeing some people look at a duplex in that scenario, where they can qualify, but then still have a little bit of separation between family. And then on some, the family's helping them qualify to get that duplex. Plus, they have the rental income that's going to be coming in from the other side of that second unit, if that family member is not going to be living with them, but is helping them out. So there's a couple of those scenarios that are happening as well, too.
Yeah, and I've, in the past, I've had clients that have thought the loan approval to buy a single family is the same as buying a duplex. And it really changes because it depends. Is the person that's buying the property with you, are they going to be renting that second unit, or are you going to be actually collecting rent from a tenant? And so if they're just, it depends what that scenario looks like. If you have a tenant or your own family is going to be living in the other unit and you both are going to be paying the mortgage. So that's always something that buyers need to look at if they're going to do look into that type of investment for a duplex or even a 3 or 4 unit. You have to figure out, where is that rent money going to come from? It's either going to come from tenants or it's going to come from you and your family that are teaming up to buy that property, and where the funds are going to be coming from.
Yeah.
So I had a question recently about the CalHAFA program, since that California Dream for All kind of hit the news, and then it was like poof, it just
like a dream.
Hold it.
The money.
Are you saying the politicians just made this up just to get publicity, and it really wasn't going to save the housing market?
I don't know how many families were actually accepted, but I did have an agent just breathing down my neck, asking me to, hurry up and review these offers and get one accepted, because they were using the California Dream for All, and they had a certain day to get accepted and get locked in to secure that money.
Right.
That's not the way it happens. And, especially if somebody's that nervous and they're rushing,
that's their only chance
to try to get accepted. I mean, that doesn't look good on their part. So needless to say, they're not involved in this scenario anymore. But, that time frame ran so short for buyers, and whoever did get the benefit of that program, I'm happy that it worked out for them. But there really wasn't a long, application period for buyers to apply and then actually secure that money to buy a property. I'm sure
Well-
they have tons of applications and a lot of people that didn't get accepted.
It went into
Right.
effect April 1st and they ran out of money April 7th on reservations. Then you have people who are going to submit their application to the lender and get denied before it goes to CalHFA. And then you have other people who are approved by the lender and go to CalHFA and either get denied or the process takes so long to file out of escrow. So you have so few people affected by it. It really is going to end up being a big waste of energy and time. And so many people were out looking at properties that weekend who otherwise had no money down payment that they don't otherwise qualify for anything. It's really, to me, it's not just at this point, it's aggravating because as a California resident, our politicians, they say they want to solve the housing affordability problem. Well, the answer is not to give money to people with no money down because they've proven they can't afford a house. If you can't afford living in a rental, you can't afford to live in your parents' house, no disrespect. If you're not making more than you earn now, how, when you own a property, are you going to handle the increased responsibility and expenses of a new property? On top of which, all they've done is it gives some people, those that get that program, more leverage than other ones. But there's no more houses. All they've done is create more competition for the same houses. And we don't have a lack of competition. We have a lack of houses. And so it just seems to me the whole thing is ill-conceived from the beginning. But like everything we do in California, it makes the politicians look good for a day or two. And then when things turn around, they all run and scurry like cockroaches and you can't find them. So the whole thing was just very aggravating. But at the end of the day, I think the lessons are good fundamental finances. Keep your costs in control, save money, avoid debt. And if you can put money to work for you, you'll be ahead in the long run. If you can't do that, I don't think counting on the state of California to lend you money is a good long-term solution. At least in my 36 years in real estate, that's never been a good solution.
Yeah, no, it was more of a lottery process. And the one thing that I looked at the guidelines was the income was high, meaning the income limit. So in Orange County, it was 235,000.
Right.
That's a lot of people that qualify for that. And if you're making $200,000, you were probably going into escrow, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, this new program comes out, let's switch it. Approve me for that program. One of the requirements was that they needed to have a property already ready to go as well. That made the process go a lot faster. So then if you got the property already, you got a contract that's accepted, and they just switch you programs, CalHFA is more likely going to approve you because you got the contract, you got your lender already. So they're just going to go ahead and approve you. So I think that's what happened too. I think we had a lot of people that had the offer accepted. They were going to go into escrow today or tomorrow. And they're like, hold on, let's wait for the program. And then, we'll switch it. And I think that's how they were able to use up that money pretty quick.
Which again, then speaks to the fact that they're not really adding housing affordability. They're just taking tax dollars and giving it to people. Yeah. And driving up the prices to some degree and driving up the interest, but they're not really, there's no way to increase housing affordability where the number of people own houses without building more houses. Anything like that is they're just playing a shell game to divert your attention from what's really going on. And unfortunately, we live in California. We used to build a lot of houses. A good part of my business was new home builders, even infill in El Monte and in areas of Los Angeles, Culver City, and Lakewood, Norwalk. There are new housing developments, and now we just don't do that anymore. So, not much. Well, that said, we've always talked about the fundamentals of getting pre-approved, watching your credit. We've always talked about planning ahead. What else can buyers do today to get, if they're looking at a property and they're trying to shave a little bit off to make it more affordable for them? What are some of the things they can do?
So I was actually doing a review of someone today, and we came up just like this. We looked at the profile. We said, what can we do? That full credit usage, of course. Also car payments. Those tend to be the biggest thing on there. I saw a national average where car payments are now around $800. And that was on a national average.
Unbelievable.
It's like double what it was 4 years ago.
What kind of car?
Well, that's just the national average. So I don't know if every car has gotten more expensive, right? But it's just kind of gotten ridiculous after COVID. And that seems to be the biggest thing. Today I saw one, it was the same thing. It was like if we can get that $713. And you know, I was looking at the average and I was like, this is pretty accurate because here's my borrower. They have a $713 car payment. So it is very close to that $800 average that they talked about nationwide. And I'm like, that's 25% of your mortgage right there. You know, if we can clear that up. Now, you know, we all need a car, we need to get there and all that kind of stuff. So of course it becomes a preference and a lifestyle choice of what you want first. But like you said, take a look at your finances, take a look at getting pre-approved, take a look at that expensive car. You know, do you need to maybe change that for a year, get your home, and then you can go back and get that car? So definitely take a look at those scenarios.
Yeah. And you know, sometimes just getting into something that maybe this property that you see is not exactly the dream home, but you can make it your dream home. You know, you can buy something that needs a little TLC, needs some cosmetic upgrades, and you can do that as long as you secure the property. And as you go along, you can start making that your project and, you know, start making those changes so that the property does feel like home and it does feel like it is your, you know, a dream home now.
Yeah.
So sometimes it doesn't start off that way. I mean, I bought my house 8 years ago and I'm still making changes to it and, you know, modifying things. But definitely taking care of your credit and also shopping for, you know, insurance has also gone up as well, insurance premiums. So just looking into, you know, especially first time home buyers, they don't really think about that, but bundling things to maybe get discounts on insurance when you're bundling your home and your auto and, you know, things like that. So that's one way. And also trying to, you know, once you're in escrow, you can, or actually before you're in escrow, but, you know, negotiating at the time when you're writing that offer with your agent. So you make sure that maybe some of those things will be paid for, or at least maybe you'll get a small credit. I haven't seen a lot of credits coming around these days, but because of the low inventory, but that's, you know, it's kind of a moving target. The real estate market, it changes. And so those trends kind of come and go where the sellers are giving a credit and then they may not, but it just depends what you're asking for. So
I got a $50,000 credit on a $1.3 million property.
and what was it for?
I'm sorry?
What was the credit for?
A lot of stuff. So this buyer spent a lot of money on inspections, but they also discovered a lot of stuff. And the strategy I always use is, you know, there's certain things you should expect, and there's other things that there's no way to know. And if the seller doesn't, you know, do a detailed disclosure, and I think the mistake sellers make in those higher price houses is not doing an inspection, because then at least you can say, you know, here's at least a cursory list of things. And by the way, that kind of gives you an idea of the condition of the property. But when the seller goes, oh no, our property is, you know, moving condition. So this buyer is pretty savvy. We've done it a couple of times where we did, you know, sewer inspector and a roof inspector, foundation inspector, this inspector. And each time my strategy always send that to the listing agent, because now they have to disclose it to any other buyer. And so I say to them, look, you can ignore it, but the next buyer, you're gonna be obligated to show them all these defects, and they're going to see quotes for all that work, and they're going to adjust the price in their mind based on that. So I do think that as a buyer, you got to sharpen your pencil, and this is where, you know, having a strong listing agent on your side is really, I mean, a strong buyer's agent on your side is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So the offers that I have right now have no credits on them at all. So, you know, it's one of those, and it's upwards of close to 800,000. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked to other colleagues of mine. They're in different states, and they're like, all of my offers are coming in with credits. So, you know, but they're across the country, they're in different states. So very much, you know, the local market will dictate where that's at, the competition. We may hear some local news, just like with the rates and all that. But, you know, every market is different. So when I hear that from the other states, and I'm like, wow, that's really good that those buyers are getting credits, and they're getting 2 or 3% of the purchase price, and you know, and then I tell them a little bit about what's happening here. So yeah, every market is different.
Yeah, it's just really evaluating the area you're buying in, and checking the motivation of the seller. If you can
Yeah.
get into a property that is back on the market, that's a really great opportunity as well.
Yeah.
I've actually seen quite a few falling out of escrow recently, and it's when I've asked why they fell out of escrow, it's usually, the buyer had their hours changed at work. They kind of got cold feet during the escrow process. They were thinking about, the payment. They weren't sure if they were going to be able to handle it or not. So different reasons like that. But I think when you see a property that was on the market and then it went into escrow, and if they did get as far as the inspection, then you have that advantage that you can get that inspection from the listing agent. And if not, then, you have this opportunity to jump in. So I actually just opened escrow on this type of scenario. There was a property that my buyer really liked. She wanted to see it. And the listing agent never had an open house. They were just, showing the property with private showings. So we missed it the first time. By the time we saw the property and we called, it was already going into escrow. So about a week later, the listing agent calls me and says, "You're the first person I'm calling because I kept bugging her last time." So she said, the property's going back on the market. Buyer got cold feet. They're backing out. So we went over there right away, saw the property, made a strong offer. We beat out 6 other offers and just opened escrow yesterday. So this is one of those things.
Whoa, another escrow open, Patricia. I'm getting dizzy keeping track of all your escrows.
So it's, you just have to keep your eye on the market. It's a moving target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I do is whenever I offer a property, I create an MLS search on that property. So if we don't get it, I see when it goes into escrow. Then if it falls out, you have to MLS, I immediately know it and try to jump on that situation. I've gotten deals that way too. So I always make a search in the MLS. In your case, you might get even before that, but if you have good relations with the listing agent, that's also even more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna have to wrap up here because my grandson's waiting for me. So that's my priorities. Sorry, guys, just how
we
life
gotta
is.
go.
Yeah. So any last words, Gustavo, what last words for buyers out there looking to buy their first house or looking to upgrade? What should they focus on this week?
So definitely their affordability, knowing their numbers and knowing the rate, because it does change a little bit, as we mentioned before. So just get your numbers. As long as you have that and you're prepared for that, then you can feel comfortable going out there and shopping for that house.
Fantastic. If someone get a hold of you, how they get a hold of you?
714-334-4563. Call or text. Thanks.
Fantastic. Patricia, what do you want buyers to focus on this week?
I mean, really, it's just about the basics, taking care of your credit, not opening any new accounts, and living within your means, not overspending, and really trying to put away that money, even your tax refund, save it. People usually get it and go buy something new, but start trying to really put that money away. It'll be for your own advantage.
It's funny you say that because I got some sort of a refund from the state of California, and I didn't even know I got it. And they sent me a letter saying, "Hey, you never got your money." So maybe I didn't even know about it. But thank you. And so when you get a hold of you, Patricia, talk about buying a house, how they get a hold of you.
So my cell phone, which is 323-365-9909.
Fantastic. And I'm Bill Gross. I'm a broker here in Los Angeles, California. Patricia and I are colleagues at eXp Realty, and I am available on social media at Bill Gross EXP. We do this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I didn't even check if there's anybody in the chat. No, we got all the questions answered. So we do this. We also live stream this on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for joining in. If you're watching it live, feel free next time to ask questions. I should have asked that already, but oh well. I guess I'm fired as a producer, but I'll try to do that next time. But come on, join us every week, live, ask questions, participate. We're here to help you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And Gustavo, Patricia, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.